for the wealthiest people in this country. It was caused by a recession as a result of the greed, recklessness, and illegal behavior on Wall Street. And if those are the causes of the deficit and the national debt, I will be damned if we're going to balance the budget on the backs of the elderly, the sick, the children, and the poor.
The administration has canceled more than $17 billion in debt for 725,000 borrowers, from fixing public service loan forgiveness programs to addressing the borrower's defense backlog. It's good to see that President Biden is helping out the American people with stimulus checks. If you think he's doing a good job on this, tell me down in the comments. We're back, everybody, and we have some more stimulus information. Social Security news, SSDI stimulus checks. It's official that a fourth stimulus check is going out. Lawmakers have even suggested a one-time tax credit will provide up to $2,000 in additional financial aid to help people during this time. The administration has confirmed that they will take action to address rising inflation. So everybody, continue watching this video because you definitely don't want to miss out on this. As inflation continues to rock the country, households are losing purchasing power. Prices are up on average 8.5% over last year, with increasing fuel costs driving the surge. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that the gasoline index rose 18.3% in March and accounted for over half of all the items' monthly increase. As fuel prices increase, so do transportation costs for many firms. Companies pass along these increased costs to the consumer by charging higher prices. What is clear is that the current bout of inflation seen in the market is not affecting all products in the same way. The Consumer Price Index decreased by 0.4% in March when energy and food commodities were removed from the average. In response to increasing inflation, the Federal Reserve has announced that it will raise interest rates. What some economists are saying is that while prices are rising at historic levels, this is unlike other periods of high inflation seen in the country. The root cause, increased food prices and a lower supply of consumer goods, has led to a classic recipe for inflation. Economists believe that it could be a short-sighted term for this Federal Reserve to begin engaging in interest rate hikes, as it could leave those at the bottom of the income scale to suffer the most. When interest rates increase, money begins to move more slowly throughout the economy. This can make it more difficult for firms, individuals to gain access to credit, and in many cases, there is an associated rise in unemployment. Economists are warning that an interest rate increase could stunt the economic recovery, which has empowered workers for the first time in decades, giving them greater leverage when negotiating salaries and benefits. Of a one-time inflation adjustment tax cut for lower and mid-income households, a more significant tax return could support families in the short term to counter the impact of increased prices. While prices are up more than 8%, wages have only increased 4.5% in the last year.
They've drawn up in 2020 were not suited to what Americans needed in 2021. Overspending and overborrowing would unleash inflation, slow rehiring, and hurt small businesses. All that was predicted. But Democrats rushed ahead. They rammed through what the White House bragged was the most left-wing legislation in our nation's history. And now Democrats want to follow up with even more absurd summer sequel. Well, let me tell you, Mr. President, I just spent 2 weeks hearing from my fellow Kentuckians, and they're already paying a heavy price. Manufacturers are still absolutely hammered by supply chain shocks. Employers, large and small, say Democrats' special bonus for workers who stay unemployed is badly hampering their ability to fully reopen and to serve their customers. Most of our surrounding states have already put a stop to this awful idea, but Kentucky's governor regretfully hasn't. It isn't just for-profit businesses either that are having trouble getting people back to work. I heard from one residential treatment center for pregnant women and new moms grappling with substance abuse.
That's wrong. So what we are here today to say to the super committee, which is surrounded by lobbyists and big money interests, yes, we want...
Ms. Pelosi. Recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the gentleman for yielding, and I thank him for his leadership in bringing this important legislation to the floor. Mr. Speaker, in his outstanding State of the Union address Earlier this month, President Joe Biden presented Democrats' visionary agenda to build a better America with
reaction on those inflation numbers?
It's time for this government and all of us to be serious about the economic situation that we're facing.
Joe Manchin has finally revealed to other lawmakers that what he wants to hear from President Biden's Build Back Better bill. It is definitely hard to know sometimes what's going on in Senator Manchin's mind, but Manchin has revealed to his colleagues what he wants from President Biden's bill. And this is good news, everybody. On Wednesday, the West Virginia senator reiterated a familiar priority of his for the social spending bill that Democrats want to pass together. Manchin told reporters, just fix the tax code and just fix the taxes. Now, because previously Joe Manchin told reporters that he was against the $2 trillion package back in December, now it appears like Manchin is back on track and wants to move forward with negotiations on the spending bill. Late last year, Manchin said he voted to advance an earlier version of the party line bill because his top priority was rolling back the 2017 tax Republican cuts.
Costs and rising temperatures, because we cannot build a stronger economy if we do not build a more sustainable economy. And that's why we need the Inflation Reduction Act. It will reduce costs for families, it will reduce emissions, and it will even reduce the debt and deficit. Madam President, the climate investments in this bill are, in a word, historic. They won't just bring down carbon emissions by a whopping 40%, they will help us establish a real energy independence from dirty fossil fuels and foreign adversaries. They will save lives by reducing air pollution and supporting conservation efforts happening in rural Washington state right now to prevent wildfires and protect families and address the climate crisis. This legislation will make an historic, first of its kind, economy-wide investment in clean energy that will create millions of good-paying clean energy jobs, including in Washington state, and it will bring down families' energy costs. For people who are struggling to keep the AC on in the winter, or the heat on summer, or the heat on in the winter, or lights on year-round, it will help weatherize homes and install energy-efficient appliances and heat pumps and rooftop solar panels and more. And this bill will offer huge cost savings for clean or electric vehicles, new or used, and give companies a good reason to build more of these cars in America. We aren't just cutting energy costs, though. Madam President, no one should have to worry about whether they can afford the health care they need. But I've heard from countless patients who worked their whole life, who saved their money, but still had to work an extra job or move in with their family or even ration their prescription just to make